Team BFF was created back in the day, 2009, I think, end of 2009, when we were doing Planetary Interaction. We were actually originally going to do a feature that's been kind of on the board for years called treaties, which is basically smaller alliances being able to rent space like they can today, but in an actual like contract system. So that's why we chose the name Best Friends Forever, because we figured it would be like a nice name for a team that's like kind of bringing people together in 0.0, and also just because the team are just so good friends. We just loved each other since day one. It was very nice. And yeah, so we were going to do treaties, and then suddenly we got pulled aside and said that Planetary Interaction needed another team, and we kind of got tossed into that accidentally. And we've just been doing pretty well, well enough that they keep us together at least. So yeah, we're still going.
Like, working on BFF and doing all these little things it's kind of different from what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years in design. Usually we have like one big thing for release or a couple of biggish things, and you kind of focus on something for a week or two and you get it done and then you kind of move on. With BFF there's a lot of context switching, a lot of like, okay, today we're doing this and that's going to wrap up, and then tomorrow I've just got to knock out some little design for this little tweak we're doing, or talk to some UI programmers or whatever, or UI designers, and just constantly kind of switching back and forth. It's quite tiring in a way, but it keeps you on your toes and keeps you busy, so it's a nice change.
So the little things were actually CCP Torfy Francis' idea. We wanted to do something else. I don't completely remember what it was, but we had some idea that we wanted to do, and we thought it was really, really good. And CCP Torfy Francis said, well, what if we just do a ton of little things? And everyone was just like, that's a terrible idea. No one's gonna care that we move the lights on a station or shuffle a button around. And he kind of convinced us, and it turned out to be a really, really good idea. So this was actually not something that came from the team. It was kind of Torfy Francis' idea of something that the players would really, really like, and we jumped on it. And as much as we probably didn't embrace it as much to begin with, we kind of don't want to let it go now, because it's really, really one of the best things that's happened to Even a While.
I do a lot of minor UI tweaks and changes, and most of them just make so much sense that you don't really notice them. But there was a tiny change I did when I changed the icons for waypoints in your destination route. And I was lurking in the help chat and on the forums when we deployed it, and people were really happy about it, which made me really happy.
It's a very different deployment schedule to what most teams at CCP would follow. We have been deploying somewhere around every 6 weeks. To 8 weeks since the first sort of incursion release, and it's been pretty hectic. It's been different. This is probably the fastest release schedule I think CCP's ever gone through, but the reception and from players and what we've managed to achieve within that time has sort of spoke for itself, and yeah, it's something we're very sort of strongly behind, and yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to work on.
I think the big advantage for what BFF does isn't like a lot of our big features, like there's a tangible thing and you can see it's doing this and X many players are using it and we've like increased our subscriber base or whatever. And all the little stuff we're doing for BFF, it's very hard to kind of make the impact and see what like kind of quantitatively it's doing, but qualitatively every time we fix one of these little speed bumps, like players don't hit that speed bump they're playing, they don't go, bloody hell, why is that little bit of UI like this, or why is this little thing, or why is this task more complicated than it needs to be? And it just kind of smooths the play experience, and it makes playing Eve feel nice, so it's not like, this is an amazing new feature that's like increased my fun by like 22%. It's just like this, like making Eve feel effortless is a really kind of positive thing, and I think also it's something, there's a lot of little things that the player bases have wanted us to do for a long time, and kind of getting that done, and like really committing to doing all these fixes and answering a lot of requests we've had kind of shows that like we are paying attention, and sometimes we are wrapped up in these big releases and we haven't got time to nail through the little things. We've got some tight schedule, but like making the time to do all these little bits and just kind of show the player base that we are paying attention and we know what the problems are and we do want to fix them. It's just a question of getting them in. I think that's been like a good thing for both sides of that relationship to kind of understand what's going on.
I would like the UI to be nicer and more user-friendly. There's a lot of stuff we can change there. For example, there are way too many windows that pop up. I would like to reduce the number of windows and try to fit them more into like one window, try to optimize stuff.
I think to allow ourselves to maintain Eve in a sort of incremental fashion, something to really look at it week in, week out, with the ability to deploy those changes in a small time frame, is to admit that Eve is a big game, that you can't just turn all attention to a major feature and then switch it the next year to another major feature. Is to allow ourselves to just say that we make things a certain way, and if it's not right, or we get feedback or stuff that can help us to make it better, we allow ourselves to make those changes.
Things that would have changed a long time ago in Eve. Oh, that's a long list of things. That's actually almost too long a list to actually think about where to start. The blueprint run box thing is again, it's just one of those, it's that kind of thing, that things that really get me. But it's not just like, there's a lot of things in Eve that are a bit wonky, or that were done in an odd way, or like I can kind of see why we did that originally, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me now, or it's that things moved on and changed. But there's some things where you just look at it and you go, oh, that's just silly. having a box that's text box that's one character too small is silly. There's another one that's in our backlog somewhere where if you're approaching a Stargate and you want to jump to the gate and you hover your mouse over the jump button in the overview, it says you're not in, there's a little tooltip comes up, says you're not in range to jump, please get in range, and the tooltip obscures the distance to the gate, and it's just like that. I mean, obviously no one's sat down and designed that and said we might make these tooltip this big, but someone just punched some text in somewhere, and now it just like it tells you get in range, but while that's up you can't see what the range is, and it's just like, that's stupid. That's something we should just fix, and especially there's a lot of things, and not just like UI stuff, but like design stuff and little things like logistics warp speed is something that like we've just not. I don't know how that's never got into the thing, but it's just like you look at it and you go, yeah, no, that's silly. We should fix that, and it's one of the joys of BFF has been having the opportunity to go through the game and find these little things that go, please can we just change this, and the blueprints thing again, like Ellen has just Explorer just published like a big blog explaining why this took so long, but it's just such an obvious like, yeah, we should have fixed that a while ago, and we couldn't because of all the technical reasons, but it's never been a smart thing that you couldn't tell the difference there.
I think a lot of the stuff that we end up looking at and going like, oh, this is broken. A lot of that stuff is only broken because of time. I think features don't age very well. So the Titan with the AE Doomsday I thought was really, really cool back when there was 5 of them on the server. Like when there was 5 of them on the server, they were kind of like a unique, special, like super thing. And now there's like everyone has a Titan. Pretty much everyone. Statistically, everyone in EU has a Titan. And that's kind of a bit of a sad point, and that doesn't mean that the Titan itself is bad. It just means that we've done a poor job of kind of maintaining the uniqueness of it. So like, that's a ship that works great 3 years ago, but it's just like not so good today. Well, actually the Titan is as much a problem as the super carrier, but I mean, yeah. I think super caps, and especially production as well, kind of the more ISK goes into the game, the less stuff costs, and that's a bit of a shame as well that we're not really regulating that. So, yeah, my biggest concern is definitely old features that age terribly.
I think the hardest part is to please everybody. Like you do some change because a lot of people are asking for it, but then there's a bunch of other people that really hate it. I run into this quite a bit since I'm messing with the UI, and everybody has an opinion on the UI.
Yeah, I think when it comes to popular features with the Little Things project, they tended to be like UI changes that really just improve the quality of life whenever working in Eve and playing the game. And so our changes that are really well received are the ones we hear nothing about, or we hear, some really good suggestions about what players would like to change and what extra things they'd like to see from it. That sort of shows some enthusiasm, in the feature, and yeah, we really support that.
So our future is going to be still kind of little things. It's not going to be as little thingy as before. It's not going to be moving the buttons around, just all the small things. It's going to be focused more on 0.0. We're going to do a big push towards infrastructure, resources, probably touching POSIS a little bit, touching SOV. We're probably going to be out in 0.0 for a while now. And some of it is going to be bigger changes. Some of it is going to be like feature size, really big cool changes. But one thing we've learned from little things is that if you can do one big thing or 50 small things, they'll eventually net you a bigger result if you do the small things. So our approach to making 0.0 changes is absolutely from a little things perspective. So if we can do like instead of saying we're going to revamp the entire SOV system, then say we're going to do 50 tweaks that the players want to SOV, then why not do that? So we're going to be spending the next considerable amount of time, I think, on 0.0. And we also have a feature coming up called Contraband. But
I think BFF is going to last kind of forever. I think so. I think it's going to last as long as our friendship does. And I'm pretty sure that's going to last forever because we're really good friends. Pretty much forever, I think. That's why we made the team. If we're not friends, we'll probably rename it to Pretty Good Friends for a while. But we'll see.